All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dream Building 101. I am your host, Dr. Ebony Potts. I am also the author of Next Exit Your Destiny, Taking the Road Towards the Life of Your Dreams. And on our channel, we interview individuals from different career paths, different walks of life that can give you some inspiration and give you some bits of knowledge on how they perhaps were able to get on their path and hopefully can inspire you to do the same. So don't forget that if you like what you see here, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and share this video. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing a gentleman who I've known for a very long time, who's actually two doors down from me in the town that I grew up in. He and my cousin's crew used to come to our house, eat snacks, talk a lot of smack, get on my nerves, but we have grown up to become adults at this time, and God has a sense of humor because he now has a wife and two teenage daughters, and his name is Mr. Walter Greene. How you doing today, Mr. Greene?
I'm fabulous, Ebony. How are you today?
I'm doing well, doing well. So why don't you tell the people who you are, what you do, and a little bit about yourself?
Okay, no problem at all, Ebony. My name is Walter Greene, like you just stated. I'm a financial services professional with New York Life. And basically what I do is I speak with clients and I try to help them map their financial future. So basically what I do is, I'll have an interview with them for about maybe an hour or so, depending on their assets and any question that they have or what have you. And what I do is I try to come up with a professional strategy exactly for them to come to meet their financial goals. So whether it's just me filling gaps that they have in their financial portfolio, such as life insurance and things like that, or I can go back and I can sort of do a mapping for their retirement plan to find out how much money they'll need to actually live comfortably in their future. Or it could be a short-term goal, with regards to, maybe they would just want to buy a car. And, they need to know how much time it's going to take them to build X amount of money to put X amount down for that particular purchase. So basically, what I do is, whatever your goal, I try to make it a very realistic plan for you to actually obtain that.
What was your career path once you graduated? How did you end up where you are now? I know that you went to Rider University, which was kind of like around the corner from where I went to school. But we went to the same high school. But how did you end up doing what you're doing now?
Okay, well, it was kind of a unique path. Prior to me actually graduating, I was already working full time at a testing company. I don't know if I can name drop or whatever. Should I just leave that out? But in any event, I was working at a testing company, and I was finishing up my degree. So by the time I graduated, I already had a full time job. Now it wasn't in my field, and it wasn't remotely involved with anything that I wanted to do at the time. So I had a choice to make. I was like, I can just stay here or I can just start venturing out. So ultimately, I got very comfortable, like a lot of us do, early on in our career paths. And I stayed there. I overstayed my welcome. So I started growing and, mentally and, and everything else. So I started looking around, but I never actually pulled the trigger. So now I'm 28 years old and I need to start actively thinking about these things, but I never actually did it. I just kept doing the standard day to day, and then my wife got pregnant. So then I'm like, okay, now everything just got real. So one day when I was at work, I went out to grab something to eat, and I saw the Merrill Lynch campus. So I went in, I drove around, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if they're hiring. I was like, I always loved finance. Let me go. So I went back to work. I applied for the job that Friday, and Tuesday they gave me a call and they were like, can you come in for an interview? And I was like, oh, so I go to the interview. I think that I'm going to be this high ranking financial planner and what have you. And, I was put on the service team, which is basically, mine wasn't the worst. It was very challenging, but it was basic. But being there actually allowed me to get my licenses, my 7, my 66, and actually move forward to get my Series 9, my Series 10, and then actually work in a supervisory realm.
Okay, what does all of that mean? Because for people that are not in your realm, that's like Greek. So what is all of that?
Okay, so basically the Series 7, 66 or 63 and 65, those are the licenses that you actually need to like buy and sell securities and offer advice to clients. Okay, so if they don't have their Series 7 or Series 63, you don't really need them in your life. I'm being facetious, but that these are the bare minimums basically. So those are the ones that actually need to put my foot in the door to actually become a supervisory level associate. So while I was at this other company, I'd already name dropped on it, but sorry, already there. I was actually in charge with the supervising a team of financial solutions professionals. So to make sure that they weren't doing anything nefarious and things like that. So I had a very awkward kind of trail to my actual end game. So I stayed there for a few years, and again, the itch started coming to me. And what I did was I was like, well, let me venture outwards. So I went out and I got attached to a firm for solely private investments. And this is basically just for the mega wealthy people. And it was great. You meet a lot of good people. I learned a lot. However, it's one of those things that COVID kind of really took the wind out of. So, while I'm still kind of engaged, I still have to move to something a little bit more permanent. So I was like, so that's when I started doing my life insurance aspect, because I already had the other licenses, but the only thing that I didn't have was the insurance. The insurance is the health and life. So, I tested for those, I got those. And now, I'm just taking every piece that I've learned through my financial path, and I'm putting it into one location. And now I can help people out in various different ways.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. And some of the things that kind of pushed you out of your comfort zone are the things that happen to everybody. We all have a tendency to get comfortable where we are and, kind of kick back, and then, life happens, because life happens to everyone. Tell us about a challenge that you faced on your path, turn back moment, if you will, and how did you overcome it, and what did you learn from that experience?
I have to say, one of the things, and mind you, that all of this was based around the time of me having small children. So I would have to say that it was me getting my licenses, because, I had a full-time job again. So I had to come home, I had to study at night, be a father, and I had to be a partner at the same time. So these are a lot of hats that I'm wearing. And, I have to make sure that I give equal attention to all of them, because I'm doing it for all of them. I'm doing this for my in-house job. I'm doing this for my children. I'm doing this for my wife. I'm doing this for our household. So I have to make sure that I didn't take too much from anything, because if I had to, then it wasn't really worth it. So, that kind of balance that I had to strike was one of the things that I really had to sit down and put a complete purpose to, and make sure that I wasn't overextending anything to one particular avenue. The one thing that I really do enjoy about it is what I call the twinkle moment. When I'm having a conversation with somebody and I let them know about something that they had no idea about, and I can see that twinkle in their eye, and they're just like, I tell them something that they did not know. That's like the best feeling. Because a lot of people that I speak with, because there's a lot of information on the internet and everybody thinks that they know how to operate within financial markets. So I encounter a lot of people that think they know about as much as I do, which is fine. But I mean, it's just not factual for the most part. So when I actually see somebody and I actually get them to sit down and listen, I really do enjoy that moment where I can tell that I've actually just opened up a door in their mind, and now they're really, really engaged.
Sick of sitting at your job, daydreaming about the life that you would have if you'd won that big jackpot? Do you want to design a life for yourself that you don't need to take a vacation from? Do you have a vision for your life that you just don't know how to make a reality? Next Exit Your Destiny is a witty, comical, yet straightforward guide that gives you common sense, easy to follow steps to make the life you dream of the life that you live. Get off of Unfulfilled Street, Unhappy Way, and Sunday Night Blues Boulevard and take the next exit towards your destiny today.
So one of the more challenging aspects is just honesty. Okay. Now, when somebody has an attorney or a doctor, the doctor says, what's wrong? You're honest with them. You tell them exactly what happened. He asks, well, have you been drinking? Have you been smoking? Like, you answer these questions honestly because you're utterly concerned about what's going on with your body. One of the things that I have encountered is that a lot of people aren't truthful when it comes to their finances because they're a little bit embarrassed. And I don't need you to be embarrassed about anything. That's why you're here. You've admitted that, you don't have all the answers about your financial future. Just be honest with me. I'm not judging you because I need you more than you need me. You know what I'm saying? I give you the information, but once I do that and once I set up your portfolio and what have you, I need you to go out there and tell people how dope I am. You know what I mean? So with honesty, people need to understand that you have to be direct with your financial solutions, because if you're not, everything that I come up with is going to crumble because it's based upon a lie. Just like with anything else in your life, if it starts on a lie, it ends. It's not going to stand. And that's one of the things. But that also ties into why I initially wanted to say trust, because if they don't trust me that I'm going to keep this information close to cover, I'm not going to go out there talking their business, then, that's something that I have to build. But that's not really directly their problem. So I have two things that I need to sort of surpass. You know what I'm saying? But they kind of go hand.
Understandable.
So they go hand in hand.
I never thought about that. I mean, I think you're right as far as people being embarrassed about perhaps past financial mistakes. Again, you letting them know that, hey, you're here to get on the right track. So whatever past financial mistakes you've made, it's okay, and I'm here to help you. But I never thought about it that way, as far as people not necessarily wanting to be truthful about that. But I can understand it though. Them not wanting to, not necessarily admit it to you, but maybe not even want to say it out loud. Like, man, I blew 20 grand on XYZ,
Exactly.
and now I need to dig myself out of this hole, and I need your help. So, part of that obviously is an ego thing, but part of it, like you said, is just embarrassment as to what they've done. And I mean, I don't know anyone who's 40-ish, whatever it is, or above, that hasn't done something dumb with money. Like, I mean, most people at some point have, made some kind of mistake or oversight or whatever it is. So, again, being honest with you and so that you can help them is obviously key in doing your job so that you can help them, push them along, financially. So obviously very important. Tell us something, a recent life lesson that you've learned or had to grapple with in the last 2 or 3 years that you think, obviously that you've kind of absorbed and learned and that you can share with people who are listening.
I want to say this has to kind of circle back to something I said earlier. When I say, there's listening and then there's active listening. A lot of times when people sit down, and me included, like I'm still working on it, is that, I was listening to respond because I put in my mind that I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going with this because I've had so many similar conversations in my lifetime and throughout my field. The thing that I actually have to catch myself doing and slow down and pull back is I cut off my response. Like whenever I have a conversation with somebody, there is no reply button. I sit there and I listen thoroughly to what they say. And that's one of the things that a lot of people miss on both ends of my table is that just listen to what they're saying. Don't treat everybody as somebody else, and just make sure that you're patient and that you actually understand exactly what they're saying. And that's one of the things that I also try to do because, anything can be subject to misinterpretation. So, you tell me something, I'll say, okay, so let me understand if I have this straight. What you said is blah, 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 blah. And if they say yes, then I know that we're on the same page. If they say, oh, no, well, what I meant was, see, now we have a new conversation flow. So, that's one of the things that I actually try to tune in and it's done wonders for me. And you can sort of put this on anything where there's just actual face-to-face customer engagement, but it's just making sure that that you're measuring twice and cutting once.
That's good advice. That carries into every type of aspect or any kind of relationship conversation that you're having. And I've heard, even relationship experts, say that as far as dealing with your spouse, your significant other, just making sure that, they're saying one thing, but you're hearing something else. And I talked about this, in a couple other interviews, you're filtering every bit of information that you're receiving through your previous experiences, and your previous experiences are coloring what you hear, even if it's not exactly what that person is saying. So, again, there was one thing that you could scream from the mountaintop as a financial services advisor. What would you say to people?
I feel like I'm on Jesus and Nero. Like, what would your I would have to say that Bodega Sign would say whole life insurance is a savings investment.
Oh gosh. Okay, I'm going to have a whole lot to say about that, but I'm going to let you say it first.
And the reason being, and there are numbers to prove this, but the one thing about whole life insurance is that, it's especially for like young people. Oh my God, get it when you're young. Is that, there's a cash value to it along with the death benefit. So, whenever that goes down, like you can actually look at it and empirically just track how much you pay, how much money was put into this policy and gathered this much money. And I just cannot stress that enough. And everybody, you're going to need life insurance. I don't care if it's whole. I don't care if it's term, whatever. Please just get life insurance. Maybe that should be it. Just get life insurance. But
get life insurance.
People need to actually do their research on what whole life insurance actually is.
And to tag along to that, there's a book that I have been recommending to people, and it's like I say it and they're like, oh, I know what banking is, or I know how the financial services business works. And, it's like, and I'm like, no, you're not. The book is called Become Your Own Banker. Okay. Become Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. I've been recommending this book to people. And I think it looks at, and I'm sure you've heard of this before, obviously in your field, it looks at whole life insurance in a completely different manner than people usually think of it. And, as far as our banking aspect, people look at interest rates in the way, and they're like, oh, I'll buy a house and, I want to get the best interest rate, and that's great. Of course, you want to get a best interest rate, but there's a difference between the types of interest that you pay. This book breaks that information down. And it also talks about the fact that you spend at least 3/4, or let me put it this way, at least a third of every dollar that you make goes into paying interest to somebody, some bank somewhere. And if you become your own banker, you are now getting that interest. It's very interesting. It's information that people don't usually get. And again, I've been recommending it. And, again, if I could recommend a book to anybody's financial future, that for me would be it. So again, I'm going to tag on that whole life insurance because it is a savings tool. You can use it in ways that the average person is not taught to use it, and it can definitely help you quite a bit.
It's kind of a stigma attached to life insurance anyway that we kind of need to dig our way out of. But yeah, definitely.
Very, very important tool. What would you tell 20 to 25-year-old Walter Greene? If you could go back in time and speak to 20-year-old Walter Greene, what would you say to him?
And I'm gathering that I can't play any lottery numbers. I can't invest in Google.
No. You don't get that. No genie is coming back with you to talk to him.
I would honestly have to tell him that your life is just starting, and it may sound kind of silly, but when I was like 28, I was like, oh man, it's too late for me to go back to college to do X, Y, and Z. It's too late for me to blah, blah, blah. It's too late for me to do all these other things. And I know you said 25, I said 28 because that's when I made my transition. But it was always still early. There was plenty of time for everything that I wanted to do. So that's what I would actually go back and be like, yo, your life is just starting. Like, it's fine. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna stumble. You're not gonna find the perfect job immediately out of college. I mean, these things happen, but you can still enjoy a wonderful, wonderful future and find something that you have a passion. Don't worry, big homie.
Don't worry, big homie. That's good. That's a good line right there. If you could tell someone who is just getting started on their path, or who might be making a transition, to try to make sure that they find the career path that will lead them to their best life, what would you say to them?
Well, honesty. And this is going to sound stupid, but in all honesty, don't chase the bag. You can't chase money to find your happiness, because if the end goal is solely the money, then you're never going to be happy. So make sure that what you're chasing is peace of mind, sense of purpose and things like that, because that's the only true time that you're going to find that fulfillment within yourself.
That's great advice, because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to become a doctor because they make a lot of money, or I'm going to become a lawyer because they make a lot of money, and they're not really looking at what you have to do during the time that you are a lawyer. Like, okay, great. Lawyers or doctors or, physicians or chemists or, whatever it is, pharmaceutical salespeople, that's great. Whatever it is that you're seeing that, there's a lot of the bag, as you say, behind their position. But do you want to sit in a laboratory all day long? Like, do you actually like interacting with people? Do you want to be stuck behind a computer all day? You really have to think about what your purpose is. What is it that you like to do? What is it that you want to do? Anything else you want to add, or any questions for me?
The one thing that I really, really want to put like some emphasis on is that please talk to your children about money. Just in general terms. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. I mean, I'm not asking you to go online and look up a bunch of different things, but just give them a sense of what you have to go through in order to make sure that your financial schemes are actually something that they can actually look and say, okay, well, here's this, here's this, here's this. A lot of people, and again, this goes back to my earlier conversation, it's not just kind of like embarrassment with talking with me, but they're embarrassed to talk to their children about it. You know what I'm saying? So, you have to, if you can't be honest with the people that you've made, then we're talking bigger issues here. So, please be mindful. There are eyes on you, like my parents, they didn't talk to me about money at all, but I wish they had, because I would have definitely been paying more attention as I was getting older, and they wouldn't have to do this all on my own as a grown man. So just talk to your children about money. That's what I really have. As far as you go, who is your financial service? I'm joking. No. I think that's all that I really have. But Ebony, I love this. I love that you're doing this. This is going to be very helpful for a lot of people. Good job.
I think so. I hope so. I hope that someone gets some information from this that can help them, because dream building is multifaceted. Most dreams take some finances. Most things you do, you have to have your financial house in order. And, the only way that you learn anything is to seek out that information. Most information doesn't drop from the ceiling and hit you in the head. So again, you have to seek out where you're deficient. And it's okay to say, I don't know as much about this as I wish I did. If you're watching TV and like, man, they're living a life that, I want to live, or they're doing things that I want to do, you have to find out what they're doing. And a big portion of what everyone is doing is, if someone has things or has a lifestyle or whatever it is that you would like to have, there's a financial piece to that. You need to know what they know in order to do what they do. So very, very important. And, again, especially speaking to your children, I know that I'm sure that you speak with your children, and I have constant conversations with my son, and my objective is for him to be in a better situation than I was. My dad, he took me up to, at that time, I think it was like First Union, he turned into Wakoya or whatever, whichever one of those banks. And, helped me open my first bank account and opened a mutual fund. And then it was kind of like, okay, And then later, as an adult, he started talking to me more about it. But there was a big, long gap with some information that I didn't get. My mom talked to me about savings, but actually sitting me down and teaching me how to budget. Like, what does budgeting look like? Something that I picked up, late night watching Susie Orman and some other people. So again, having those and watching, I think there's a episode on the Bill Cosby Show where he had the kids actually sit down and make out, a budget where he had them sitting at the table, and Cliff was like, okay, well, how much money do you make? And, he took, some dollars from him. He said, okay, what about child care and this and that? There's an episode on the Cosby Show that actually got me thinking as a kid, like, but again, having those conversations with your children is very important because, you want them to end up better than you. You don't want them to have some of the same struggles. And the only way that that's going to happen is with the information that you didn't have. So,
Exactly.
very important. But where can anyone who is looking for financial advice, financial services, if they just have some questions, where can anyone get in contact with you? Web address, email address?
Yeah, they can definitely email me. That's Greene, Greene 01 at FT, F as in Frank, T as in Tango, at newyorklife.com.
All right, sounds good. We'll definitely put that information in the comments down below. And I thank you again for speaking with us this morning. I'm sure that you dropped some gems and information that will help people with their own dream building, because dreams take a little bit of cash. So, having that in order will definitely help everyone. So I thank you. I appreciate you.
No problem at all, Ebony. Thanks for having me. It was a great time. Great time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And again, everybody, if you like what you see, go ahead and hit like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to pick up your copy of Next Exit, Your Destiny, Taking the Road Towards the Life of Your Dreams. Information on how to purchase that book will be in the comments. And information on how to contact Mr. Greene will also be in the comments below as well. So thanks again, everybody, for watching, and have a great day.